To the episode of Make City Make Spence. Time of recording this just before 8 o'clock, Thursday, October the 17th. Time flies like a motherfucker. We are here. First, Garrett here in the Metro East Side. Joining me as always, first off in the Metro West Side, the man behind all the cool graphics, making the shit and keeping the engine going. Adam, how are you going? I know you have had a tumultuous last couple of weeks, but good to see your face.
Yeah, my kid went back to school for the first time in like a week and a half. But yeah, he's been dealing with an illness and he's finally getting over it. And I hear him coughing in the back room, so I brought him out and gave him some more cough medicine. Yeah, it's been crazy, but and I'm fully expecting myself to like wake up in the morning and just have this full on, nasty cold, but it
Well, like,
hasn't hit yet.
yeah, I mean, I remember when the kids are that age, like they need intervention quite a lot. So you start getting no sleep, and then your immune system crashes, and
Yeah,
whatever they
exactly.
have, you get it like worse
Yep.
than they did.
Yeah,
You're like,
that's
ah,
yeah. Thankfully, it hasn't hit yet, but
yeah,
I'm on like full alert right now and ready
yeah,
for it. So
yeah. You like got like a store of Theraflu or whatever,
I
like
do. I have my big thing of like Dimatab ready to go. As soon as I feel like a tickle in the back of my throat, I'm doing shots of Dimatab.
yeah, yeah. It's I can't for some reason daytime cold medicines have this like really horrible effect on me where like they make me feel like I want to start crying and stuff. Like I feel like it's not, I mean, it's physical, but it's effects are like emotional in some way, and like I
Oh
just can't take
wow.
them. I can't take them. Like I took it one time when I was waiting tables at the Olive Garden in Auburn Hills, and they like kind of sent me home halfway through the shift because I was like kind of like cycling through panic attacks and crying like every time I'd step, I kind of like hold it
Oh
together, like,
geez.
go do the presentation and then come in the back and go, like, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong. And it was the, like, everybody's like, what's going on? Tell us what's going on. And I'm like, there's nothing going on. I'm like, of course, then I start crying. Like, because I'm feeling like, and it was the cold medicine. I later realized, like, oh, I took Dayquil, huh?
He took
Oh, yeah. Um,
Fun stuff. Yeah, I was telling the severity of Adam the sickness in his household because we talk about being hardworking. Adam is definition. This is the first thing Saturday, this past Saturday match, which will be the main thing we're going to be talking about
mm,
uh, tonight. The first thing, Adam, because I know you like men's stuff, women's stuff at Keyworth, matches at Clubhouse, you're there, Fieldhouse, you're there always. The last time you missed something, April 30th, 2022,
Was
was
it April? What was
yeah,
that?
that was Baby Bowls.
Yeah, it was Baby Bulls.
So to give you a
Yep.
run, just how
And it
severe it
was and it was
was,
and it was Jackson's fault too then too because he had COVID.
yep. So,
welcome to the bottom of the bus, kid.
uh,
Yep.
so yeah, that tells you just it's like it was some messed up stuff, and we've also had a ridiculous cold weather in this state recently. And I know the man behind this name of this show's got a little bit more closer to Flint. Sean Spence, brother from another mother. How are you doing? Hopefully avoiding Dayquil, my friend.
I am avoiding Dayquil. Yes. I'm physically fine.
Always
So
good
um,
to hear.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm at that age where you start getting like, the achy kind of arthritis. And so I've had a bit of that, but less than I a lot of times do have when it's wet, like it was there for a while. Um, and yeah, just making a lot of pizzas, you know, like checking a lot of dates. It's it's glamorous.
um, for those that are not in the state of Michigan that are checking this out, which I've come to realize there are more than I ever would have thought. So I'll tell that story in a little bit. Um, it is an unusually cold in October right now, the middle of October, especially in the mornings and the evenings when the sun comes down. Like, for example, Saturday, at the end of Saturday's game, sun drop, fucking cold, then rain and dampness. So I feel like there's a lot of people right now that while they don't have a cold, they're not 100%. And the slow aches of body aches and something like that. Yeah, be warned. This is just weather being a weird motherfucker.
Right. I think it's supposed to be nice like the rest of the week. I didn't like match day is going to be like Michigan perfect, 70 degrees, low humidity. Like we're going to have those 70-40 days, which are like, that's the magic shit right there. We're about to have like 4 of those. So
Can't wait.
yeah.
Indeed. So we're going to go now. We got all that in there. We're going to talk about a day that wasn't 70-40. It might 60-35. Well, then before the rain hit. And that was Detroit City's last match this past Saturday against Indy 11. A 0-0 draw, but saw Detroit City FC clinch a playoff spot. I don't want to say bittersweet fashion, but somber status on there. Sean, I wanted to, you put out a great words about shapes at the beginning of this week and about the game. And I was feeling like today using that, have you kind of, you want to use kind of like that as your like way. Because I know you talked about the match itself, talked about the variety that you could see the team shift in, especially at times throughout the game on Saturday. And like use that because I felt like whereas Charleston the week before was a point gained, this was like a 2 points lost for me. But I would really love to kind of like get your take on it as to just how much of that was us and how much of that was just Indy digging down and being like, this is what you got to do, deal with it.
Yeah. As I wrote, let's see, I pulled it up because I was wanted to be able to reference it, and then I forgot that I had done so and clicked off of it. The piece is called Through the Looking Glass, complimentary. And basically what I was suggesting is that what we were seeing from Indy is what we had been like, consistently since joining USL. That, we established dominance over the ball very early, and they just stopped contesting that in a way that was pretty familiar to the kind of very defensive approach we have taken, or especially at the very beginning. And listen, this is not criticism. This is a point about the evolution of the amount of talent on the pitch. Like, I feel like that these changes are consistent with a roster being deeper, smarter, healthier. You can start to grow your ideas, yeah. I mean, it was. I think. Okay, so I'm gonna read this third paragraph because why not? For City supporters, this kind of match can feel a bit uncanny, familiar, but something's off. The light is wrong or too right, unsettling in a way it's hard to define. Because on Saturday, we found ourselves on the other side of a mirror we have long studied. Now the worldly and elegant hosts on a long upbeat streak, frustrated at a mere point after a series of desperate rearguard actions from the Indy 11. We see the puritanical zeal of the 11, content with this stunted outcome. We recognize in them our former selves and shudder. So yeah, that's how I felt about it. I think it was the 0 was down to Indy. Like, Indy kept a 0, and we did enough. I think that if they had not been so determined and locked in, we would have won the match, and maybe fairly easily, because we established that there are things beyond just the overall quality of the roster going into this. Obviously, Indy 11 was fatigued. They had a match on Tuesday, and they rotated. Cam Lindley didn't start. I think he came on the second half. They rotated a little bit. So and like the guy they put in for Lindley is like a ball winner, and that's it. So I mean, they were they were set up for, like, when you saw the lineup, it's like, oh, okay, well they're gonna defend, and they left. They had Malik Foster, who can be like electric, leading a counterattacking, like, bomb squad of three attackers that just really got dismissed by our defensive nous and quality. Um, we erased them almost entirely. I think their XG for the match was under 0.2. And it was really down to whether we would win or it would end a draw, and ended a draw. And I think, given the quality of Indy's performance, that was pretty just. They did really dig in. It reminded me so much of those early USL sides where it's like, like in the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh God, like we're fucked. Oh my God. Like, they're just going to keep the ball. And like, um, okay, what City did to keep the ball now, obviously this is kind of the full power City, but they really stomped out the tactical ideas of Indy 11. And it was, Maxi, I think they had planned for, if Indy came out a certain way, Maxi was going to go into that space that Reese is playing super high. So there's a lot of space on that right flank because Michael doesn't like to play super wide, and that's where Maxi goes. He's just kind of goes out and plays like a right back, but he's not a right back. Of course, he's like the playmaking pivot for the entire thing, and the constant outball. And my God, did we pin them in? It stops being satisfying after a while. It's like you're holding down like a 12-year-old child or something. You're like, okay, all right, get up, kid. Like, let's do something else. This sucks. But and it's disappointing not to get a goal in that situation. When you're able to control the flow of play so completely, you really want to win.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm hugely encouraged by the performance, by the general direction of the performances. I feel like the team's form is really starting to click. The kind of long-term projects with each of the players, the things that the coaches saw early on, and they've been working with these guys for months now, simplifying their game, finding ways to like take what they got and use that to create chances. Like, it's all coming together in a way that is really exciting. And yeah, I was very impressed. Again,
I want to
by
get both yours and Adam's point on this, because I think you two had a different vantage point on Saturday than I did. My vantage point on Saturday was corner flag, media tent area, sideline area.
I saw your boots.
Yeah, as that. It's where I've been, like, that little sideline area, like where I have lately been starting to take in between, so not directly on the corner flag, but in between the corner and net. So my vantage point in the second half was Indy was doing a strategy that reminded me a lot of the U.S. Open Cup match, where they were letting us lull into the ball and giving us space outside the box, 10, 15, 20 yards, daring us to take a shot. And we were doing that a little bit more than I think we were doing in Indy, but it seemed like a lot of times, often we wanted to kick it out to the right flank, pump a ball into the box, especially near the end of that second half a lot. Is that from what you two saw of the match, do you think that's because of our, like, we were frustrated and we were just like, this is going to be the method of doing it? Or is that just credit to the way Indy was formatted? Like, no, this is what you're going to get. You think you have space to shoot, you're not going to get it. Beat us another way. Wanted to get your guys' points on that, just because the way I was seeing it, I thought there was an opportunity to shoot outside of the box more so than what we were doing, but maybe that wasn't the case.
You want to go, Adam, or you want me to go?
Oh, you can, yeah, you can go. I'm sorry.
I, you know, shooting outside the box. They did. There were times where they kind of gave that to us a little bit, and we, declined to take it. But I think the reasoning in that situation is like, well, we're constantly advancing the ball into the attacking third, like over and over and over again. Like, surely we don't need to resort to this. You know what I mean? And the other guys are playing too. And they were just really sharp. They did not give us that. That's what reminds me of the old city. Because what they did was just always play the right, angle, always shave the chance, always make it a little harder. And we didn't get that moment of quality to overcome that. And you'd like to think that if at some point we had gotten that, the game changes, and then they're forced to come out and play us in a way that we start playing through them. And maybe they were just tired, and that's why they set up that way. Maybe they anticipate facing us in the postseason and don't really want to show us much. And I think that I think City also, like, I think once they established control, they didn't change much. They didn't, like, I mean, they changed people. They made some subs, but like they didn't they didn't go crazy trying to win the match, like doing all kinds of like crazy shit. Like, it's like, well, let's keep our powder dry. Like, we might need to actually push that button against these guys in, like, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. So let's not give them a look at that. So that's I was okay with it. I was okay with not going full, like, in Captain Insano to try to win the match.
Adam, what about you, bud?
Yeah, this match reminded me a lot of the 2022 match that we played them at Keyworth. I think that one was also a 0-0 match. But
Yeah.
what was it? It was.
Yeah.
It certainly seemed like Indy was playing, not so much to win, but not, they weren't playing to lose.
Yeah.
And I think City, in some ways, that's, you can get away playing City like that. Obviously, City's a very, very good defensive team. They're still not dangerous. They're not as well, they're not incredibly dangerous when it comes to what they're able to produce up front. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I agree.
City.
That's something I should have said more about. Like, we're not that persuasive offensively. Like, if
Yeah,
if you put 100% on defense, like, we're gonna struggle to
yeah,
make
and
up.
that's I mean that's fine, and to a certain extent. I mean, at least, yes, they're good on defense and they're able to hold it down, and that's their strength. So whatever. But yeah, City still isn't that incredibly dangerous offensive juggernaut that a team like Lou City is, or in some sense, Sacramento. Uh,
Charleston.
Charleston, exactly. So you can kind of sit back, you can kind of play not to lose, and that's what Indy ultimately did. But to Sean's point, it is still encouraging because, like you said, you're starting to see things come together. Yes, you want somebody to be able to finish, which has been the story of Detroit City since God,
Yeah.
since I've been watching them, really, even when they were
It's
in
like,
Nisa, they had trouble finding a finisher,
welcome to
it's
football.
yeah, yeah, and that's it, obviously if they had that finisher, then they would have been able to put that game away
Yeah.
last Saturday. But
Yeah.
again, we're kind of talking about a perfect team, and this isn't Lou City, this isn't even Charleston, or like I said, Sacramento. But I mean, again, to Sean's point, you have to be encouraged by the way things are coming together, especially just opposed to last season when they were playing this game in Indy. They were getting blown out. What was the final of that one?
3-0, two
3
straight.
nothing. Yeah.
There were 2 3-0s 3 days apart. One at
Yeah.
home
And
against Colorado Springs, and then 3 days later against Indy. Both humiliating performances, and maybe the lowest in USL.
we were
That was,
having our
yeah.
serious doubts about going to the playoffs. And now that
Yeah.
match itself, we clinched a playoff spot. So yes, it is encouraging to be able to see things come together like that, especially at this point in the season when you're getting ready to go to the playoffs. And these 2 matches left, I know we're going to be talking about them, are still very, very important when it comes to meeting those previous goals of getting that home playoff match and securing that home playoff match. So, yeah, encouraging, good
Yeah.
stuff to see moving forward. So,
I think it's a good point too, because wasn't a mind blowing, like you guys were saying. Yeah, we're not the most mind blowing type, but I think one thing to note when you look at the Eastern Conference right now in general, including from a form perspective, even Louisville, even Charleston, there is a case that you can say lately we've been maybe the most consistent. Reason why I'm saying that: Detroit City, with that draw, unbeaten in their last 7. 13 unbeat. They've gotten a point or more in 13 of their last 14 matches. The only setback being the 1-0 loss at home to fucking Tulsa.
That's still.
Well, I'm gonna
It's like,
name what's gone on in the league this weekend in the Eastern Conference, because yeah, in theory, I leave Keyworth Saturday afternoon, early evening. Like, damn it. Like, okay, playoffs, cool. Like, it was kind of like the precursor to how Lions fans felt the next day, kicking the shit out of Dallas, but losing Aiden Hutchinson to injury. not as painful, sadly, but a little parallel. But then Saturday and Sunday, the rest of the matches happened in the Eastern Conference. Let me name them. Charleston Battery, who had did not win at home for the first time since June 8th, took on that Pittsburgh Riverhounds team that they drew with on June 8th in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh comes away 2-0 winners. North Carolina FC, who had been in form, in fact, won the day that we last recorded, last Wednesday. They beat Tulsa. They were 4-0 behind at Hartford, made it 4-3. Hartford won the match, but willed their way. Lou City took on a Tampa Bay Rowdies team that, much like a lot of the Tampa Bay St. Pete area right now with Helene and Milton, had to adapt on their feet. I know the people at the RBL Rowdies podcast crew just got their power back, and they did the first episode in a while. Rowdies had a lead in Louisville, I believe it was, and Louisville scratched and clawed, won it in the 96th minute, 2-1. And then you had, why is fuck not being there? We go. And then you go to Sunday, Rhode Island taking on Loudoun, 0-0 draw, and then maybe the most shocking result. This is more on the lower part of the table, but this was a team that 2 months ago we had to get payback on for how we lost to them in June to past them. Birmingham Legion 0, Las Vegas Lights 3.
Yeah.
So what this means in the table, Detroit City is in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
And yes, they've scored 39 goals in 32 games. The 2 teams in the playoff in 8th, 9th that have scored less than them are Riverhounds and Birmingham. But Detroit City's allowed the 2nd fewest goals in the USL Championship behind Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They're tied for 2nd with that. They control their own destiny in getting a home playoff spot. They have the tiebreaker already. They have the tiebreaker over everybody except Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who the Riverhounds cannot catch Detroit City, and Hartford cannot catch. Hartford's just trying to steal one of those last playoff spots. There's only two teams that can potentially pass Detroit City, Indy 11 and Tampa Bay Rowdies, but they cannot finish even with Detroit City, for Detroit City has the tiebreaker over them. So, it's an interesting state. Going into this weekend, the Rowdies technically have a home game, but it's in North Carolina, taking on North Carolina FC, 5 p.m. on Saturday. Indy 11 hosts Birmingham Legion at 7. Legion, to give you how fucked this bottom is in the Eastern Conference, 7th place to 10th place, all level at 42 points.
Yeah. I'm looking at the table like, this is bananas.
Hartford Athletic, 2 points behind them, but they have a game in hand.
With a game in hand, exactly.
With Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is playing next Tuesday or Wednesday. More details, I think, are being on that match. That match might even be in Hartford.
Yeah, it's probably going to be in Hartford.
Charleston Battery, Rhode Island. Loudoun, Pittsburgh. Tulsa, Hartford. A San Antonio team that's Detroit City FC's last match of the year, trying to get that last playoff spot in the West, which is also fucked. They are hosting Louisville City. So Tampa Bay Hartford is listed at 4:00 on Wednesday, October 23rd on FOTMOB, currently showing that's at L-Line. We'll see if that changes at all, obviously, everything there. But point being, Detroit City takes on a Miami FC side who just let their Antonio Nusser, the manager Antonio Nusser.
So Miami FC just cold emailed out to media contacts a graphic that said, "Thank you, Antonio Nocerino," with a picture of him like with his arms crossed, like clearly from the sidelines, with no explaining text whatsoever. And I think they followed it up shortly thereafter with the actual thing. But for about 15 minutes, soccer Twitter was like, maybe they're just impressed, but no, they
You're doing a good job with this really young team.
Right, exactly. We gave you, yeah. This year was some sort of insane Football Manager challenge type deal. Or it's like, it just didn't go well.
Who knew Miami? The Miami FC had a no contact set. Who knows?
Dead cat bounce, right? Like throw a dead cat off a building, it'll bounce. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see them put up a pretty decent fight this weekend, right? They're fighting for contracts, got a new guy in charge, they're going to be invigorated. So, we can't go in there like, dicks out for Harambe. We gotta be like wired in and ready to like demonstrate that we are a playoff, ready team by, utterly thrashing them.
Hey, we lost to the Miami FC and Richard Ballard in the Miami FC back in 2022 to
the home regular season finale,
yep.
which that we met.
Yep. I think they got him a deal with us. The part that Richard Ballard played in that winning goal.
A City win. So from what my math is gaining here, and gents, let me know if I'm off in it. Detroit City win on Saturday plus dropped points by either Indy or Tampa on Saturday means that we will finish in at least one of the two remaining home seeds in the Eastern Conference. We're currently in third, but if Indy and Tampa drop, if a City win, Indy or Tampa drop, they can't catch us.
Right. So, well, I mean, yeah, if we win and Indy drop points, then they can't catch us. I don't know about Tampa Bay. Like the game in hand math is always a little dodgy for me. Okay, so let's see, 46. So theoretically they're at 49 points. If they're even with us. So
Indy won't be able to. Yeah, Indy won't.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. So Indy or Tampa, they basically need to win out to if we win tomorrow to
And
best us.
Tampa versus Indy is the last matchup of the regular season.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it's a double bind. They can't do it. Awesome. We are definitely going to host a home playoff match. It looks like if we can win this weekend.
Yeah.
Like look what I just did.
Yeah.
Dick's out for dumbass.
So hey, to further go down to us to show the fucking knobheads that we're becoming right now. Miami FC has a season right now that's maybe the USL Championship version of Major League and then some.
Yeah.
3 wins, 2 draws, 27 losses.
Yeah.
The last time they won was August 31st against Monterey Bay FC, who turned out that game in Monterey turned out to be a lot more enjoyable than we had anticipated. The previous game that Miami won before that, you have to go back to April the 27th when they beat San Antonio 2-1, and then March 9th against Colorado Springs in the opener.
Dude, they won the opener and they've only won 3 matches.
And Miami, one thing that Miami has in common is they beat all their wins have been against teams that we've so far beaten in Colorado Springs and Monterey Bay, and a team we could beat next week which is San Antonio.
Yeah.
So are we shitting a brick here, guys?
I think it looks really good. It's really unlikely that anyone below us wins out, and
yeah,
it's pretty likely that we do win out. I would say we should be favored against San Antonio. They haven't lost in 3. They've got the ghost of Juan Agudelo. But I think we're fundamentally a better team than them, and you can bet that Maxi Rodriguez is going to show up to that match like in his full super Maxi form, playing at home. He's in front of like his everyone he knows.
Yeah. There was a lot of Rodriguez and Botella Faz family in San Antonio.
I mean, there's gonna be so many people, and like he's this is his team now, and I think he's gonna want to show out. So
yeah,
I think we're gonna win out.
San Antonio is 3 points behind Oakland Roots currently for that last playoff spot.
Mm.
Roots did lose to Phoenix, I think, which clinched Rising Stain, much to probably our buddy Owain Evans being able to take a sigh of relief and talk about something good for the Rising for once.
The Roots have fallen apart. Like they've fallen apart.
Yeah.
But like we mentioned Las Vegas earlier, they are the hottest team in the league.
They are second in the USL Championships Western Conference. They were what the fuck, guys?
Well, I mean, they decided to stop being they got sold to someone who wasn't using them as like arguably a money laundering thing or whatever, and like a sideshow, but like somebody that wants to build a community club, and they started like really digging in. They apparently have a good Rolodex, and it's like working right away.
Baseball and soccer do get along, as you can see here.
Yeah, and like super encouraging for the league. Like it's a really fantastic evolution of that team.
Yeah.
They feel like they're kind of, this is their year of destiny. Like they've got new ownership, and they're gonna win everything, and maybe they will. But I'd like for us to have something to say about it, because that means we're in the cup.
Yeah. I am looking real quick.
I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here with like just looking at like tables and everything from past years, the last team it looks like to have like the season that Miami is having right now, you have to go back to 2017 when USL Championship had 8 teams. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it
Yeah,
was Puerto
DNAS.
Rico. It was
Yeah.
Puerto Rico
Oh,
FC.
it was the one
Who
year
had,
of Puerto Rico.
yeah, who
Oh
had
man,
9 points, but they only played 16 matches that year.
yeah. They like dissolved midway through the season.
And all the teams, and ironically enough, Miami FC was in that, um, was listed in this table here at 36 points. Obviously, there's only
Hmm.
30 or there's only a 16 game season. Cosmos and everything were in here too. Indy 11, FC Edmonton, but 9 points
Really?
for Puerto Rico FC.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
good shit.
that really that spawned so many football manager saves that next year because like everybody's like, yeah, man, I'm taking Puerto Rico to the Club World Cup or whatever. Um, uh, but I think it was just the cost of travel was prohibitive. Like, wait, we absolutely have to fly here, like, and that it just crushed the team right out of the gate.
I think
Like,
Didn't Carmelo Anthony
yeah,
own a
I
piece
think
of that team?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he gave some money to it. Like, I'm sure everyone lost their ass. Um,
But damn, that's just incredible though. Just how
The two,
bad. I mean, this is
the two teams a couple of years ago weren't even that bad to what Miami have done.
no, no,
Uh,
this is
no,
Chicago White Sox bad.
yeah, like
remember Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox stand out for our other podcasting endeavors, Adam. We know this.
like as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm realizing that I should have dug into this and figured out. Well, I swear I've seen coverage of this somewhere, like what's going on in Miami, and it's like they just basically pulled a lot of the funding.
Their CFO,
Um,
they lost their CEO or CFO to Wrexham in the summer.
right, but like I think that was
Dallas,
part of a larger sort of just downshift by the organization, which is why like when I hear that they're going to be in the championship next year, I'm just like, that is just baffling. Like
Yeah.
USL wants League One teams, they want them, and you are running one in the championship and just getting like smashed. And like,
and
how are you developing anyone? You're just throwing these kids out there, and they're learning that like this was a mistake. That's what they're learning. Congratulations, kid. Um, like,
Tough market too. Tough
yeah,
market.
oh, impossible market.
Yeah.
Like this is the playground for South American aristocracy. Um, so you can't show up at the League One level and expect that people are going to be like, oh, the football. Like, I mean, you're gonna have to actually build like roots in the community and like probably start as youth teams. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to go about this in a very humble way and succeed wildly for years and years before you're ready to actually be in this league, I think.
No, that's the
Um,
perfect way of putting it too. That aristocracy, because South Florida, it's all Cubans who left Cuba. That's
well, I mean, it's where it's where all the football superstars of the world get together
yeah.
and party and hang out. Like
Yep.
that's why fucking Messi is in Miami, because it's where he hung out with his buds, and it was like he's like, this is fucking great. I'm gonna move here.
the
I'm gonna
photo.
move.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move here, play for their team, and own it. Like do the Beckham thing. That's what I'm gonna fucking do. Yay! I'm gonna be a
Yep.
billionaire. Um, and all right.
To give you an idea of how competitive that Miami market is, Miami one has to deal with Inter Miami, which means that a bunch of ticket sales, I think last year for our game, happened because people thought,
People were
oh,
just confused. Yeah.
yeah. Which, I mean, thank y'all for being idiotic enough
Yeah. Like
on there. Also,
Miami FC needed that like $50,000 infusion, guys.
I thought
but
I remember the club saying too, like they were fielding phone calls or something about it.
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
Messi coming to town.
During the Messamania phase.
Yeah.
It's weird how normal it's become. Like, yeah, like Messi kind of retired to Inter Miami and like called up all his boys and was like, let's just fucking run this league for a while. That'll be fun. And they were like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll get together at your place. Okay, bye. It's so like, I guess why not if you can,
I still dream.
it's very NBA. It's very like old Miami Heat, right? Like,
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I still dream though about that crazy Open Cup match that I know will never happen of Messi having to come to to Hamtramck make him play at Hayward.
yeah, he would be mysteriously injured before the match because he was just not going to play.
Yeah.
He's not going to play, and he'd show up and like wave, and
they'll be like, you guys got to play at like Comerica Park, and then somehow that bitch will sell out because Messi's playing or something.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh no. Absolutely. We would absolutely grab the biggest stadium that was available for that. I mean, like,
the day that
make hay while the sun shines, man.
Further, even more about how wild that is. The day Detroit City FC was at Miami on June 29th this year. They already had to deal with Inter Miami 1, but then Hard Rock Stadium that night was Argentina versus Peru in the Copa America.
That's right.
So
was that the one? Was that the one that like where it all went wrong? They rushed the gates and broke the gates. And
that was the final, Argentina and Colombia, I think.
I thought they had problems at another match too.
That might have been, but
because that was why, like when the final came, it was like, bro, this happened before. You seriously didn't like make plans after the first time it happened? Like,
the Colombian fans got in through the vents.
Right. Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was hilarious to watch. And like, okay. When you have these events that like are designed to like take advantage of this kind of passion, and then you use every exclusionary policy you can find to make the tickets only like very few tickets available to regular passionate fans and mostly to fucking corporate boludos, then you're reaping what you sowed. Fuck you, like I got no compassion for people who are like, we're going to punish them. No, you don't. They want to get in and see the football, and there were like 3,000 tickets available at like $200 a seat to sit like in God's ass crack and like use like high power binoculars to glimpse the action. Like, come on.
How it is going to be a day Saturday. I know Detroit City is going to be honoring their 2 latest Centurions.
Awesome.
Reese Williams, Michael Bryant. I think those are they're getting their plaque with their kid on it at some point during the game.
Right.
Have you guys all forgiven Reese for being on that Stumptown team that beat City?
I've forgiven
2021.
Well, I mean, he was instrumental in them beating us. Like he was a force in the midfield. And like really,
I forgive it.
Well, go ahead.
Than Maxie being a Cowboys fan last year and Cowboys James photo after the fucking Taylor Decker ruled as ineligible for Dan Skill.
Reese. I think this is really the fact that the guys who joined us when we joined USL, at the beginning of 2022, the fact that they're hitting their 100 matches really just demonstrates that they've been durable and good, and B, that we play like a professional match load now. So like it was kind of frustrating in the old days when we play that like super short season. Like you'd have like 8 matches or like guys wouldn't rack up any stats.
Yeah.
It's like, like a dude who you think of as a legend, and you go back and look at his stats, and he had like 19 starts for the club. Like, huh?
How long it
It
take
was over 4
how long it
years.
take
Like,
Cyrus to hit 100 matches?
yeah.
Matches. 2019 maybe.
Yeah, I think it took him
Jesus
6
Christ.
years. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I think it's great that these guys, that we've kind of established this tradition of doing the Centurion thing and the presentation and all that. And it kind of, to me, it's like, you've been here long enough to be mentioned in the histories. Like 100 years from now, we'll have your name down here somewhere. And that's great. Like we need a lot of that. Continuity is extremely important in my view, for building culture.
Yeah, and the next group after that should be Lai Jop and Devon Amoo-Mensah, I think, for the USL champs, because I don't think Devon's hit 100 yet with the injury. I know Lai was out for bits last year.
Right.
Well,
yeah,
so we're the next ones.
Yeah, Lai's had some knocks, and also has, he's grown up a lot since that first season as a player. He's a fully mature adult player now, and he was maybe a little unfinished still in 2022, and didn't, wasn't a lock starter. And who else did you just mention? Oh, Devon, who would be in this group if he hadn't suffered that horrible injury at Indy and sat out half a season. Really, this group of guys is the spine of the team that has been grown here in the championship, and I think it's been interesting that we started to see everybody signing these long-term deals. Like, okay, we're going to lock the core of this group down for 2-3 more seasons.
Yep.
Like Devon just signed.
Yep.
Stevie signed previously. I would expect that they're probably deep in negotiations with, like, with the rest of Centurions, Maxi, Michael, Reese, Ben.
Michael's got year right after the next year with that readjusted contract at the start of last.
Do you have an option, or does he have one more year, like straight up?
I think they readjusted it at the beginning of the year last year to where he's got this year and next, I think.
Oh, okay. And then an option? Is it 2+1? I thought it was a 1+1, but I don't. You remember those things much more clearly than I do. So,
the original contract was last year, and then it had to be. They were running the risk of not keeping them at this year, this 2024. Right. But then they adjusted it to, it might have been 23 and 24 with the option for 25, or it was 24 and 20. I got to look and see. It was an old Nolan article. But it was big because it was like, hey, let's knock this down now, and then let's restructure this. Because Michael was like, I'm staying here. And I think that's like, for a season here that wasn't a lot of high points, that was a high point.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, watching the guys kind of become Detroiters is great fun. Like, I feel like some of them are pretty much like, okay, this is where I'm going to live.
Yeah.
Like, and that's always cool, because Detroit is a city that not everyone gets, and
one of the things that.
Yeah, quick.
Yeah, I was going to say that was one of the things that Dicchio was talking about too when he first took over here. Is he wanted to find people who wanted to be in Detroit, not necessarily somebody who was just, chasing a contract, but he wanted to find somebody who was who they wanted to find players who wanted to be here, wanted to be in the city, wanted to, kind of embrace that, which is important too, obviously, because of all the the negative press and the negative the negative outlooks,
Yeah.
the trade has gotten in the past.
That kind of makes me like wonder about like, because we've talked before about how something clearly went wrong emotionally at the heart of the team last year.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was it. Like if there were just guys who were like,
Didn't want to be here.
I don't fucking like this place. I
Yeah.
don't like, this sucks. I don't want to be here.
Do you know Adrian Billhart rocks Lions gear still though?
Does he?
Yeah,
Okay.
Adrian was one of those guys that certainly seemed like he liked the city, just didn't like the
Yeah.
situation he was in.
Yeah. I think, I wonder if Adrian, if he came in this year, if the outcome would have been different. Because I'm feeling Trevor's pretty old school, and I think Adrian is, he's coming out of like, if you think about the German style and the German coaching, it's been very kind of inflected by Dutch coaching over the last like 15 years, in that players are encouraged to have dialogue with the coaching staff about what they feel their role is, or like it's encouraged to talk through what the group's ideas are and how you fit into that and all that.
Disagreement.
And that can come across to someone who's not looking for that as like, putting your foot in where you don't belong. And I don't know categorically that that's what happened, but I knowing what little I've seen of Adrian in the way he kind of is, and kind of speculating about what kind of problems could have come up there, because clearly something came up. That's what seems likely to me. Is that like it's the kind of problem that I have run into from time to time in the workplace, where I will think that like I'll know my boss a little bit, and they'll seem receptive to my ideas or whatever, and then I'll start to offer some criticism, and you find out like we ain't cool like that. Like no, I don't want to hear from you. I want you to praise me. Like, oh, okay.
I will say real quick before Adam gets in there, because I think to tell you how far, like last year was last year, but it seems like such a long time ago. Seeing Trevor James in the handshake line this year, it seems like a man that's gone through the Benjamin Button process, from coaching to now. Sean, you get my drift. Adam, you get my drift. Especially like he looked rejuvenated. He looks like the fountain. He saw the fountain of youth. Once he's like, okay, this not coaching.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually haven't been to the stadium for a while, because I just know that once I actually see Trevor, that he will look so much younger than me. That I'll be dumbfounded with shame or something. Like, I don't know. But yeah, he does look really good.
Yeah.
No, Sean, I think you're probably the best person to speak on that. But it did seem, I mean, even in the beginning, because the feeling last year was he didn't want to be moved out of that role. He didn't want to leave coaching. He wanted to, and I remember even when, things were kind of getting going, with the new regime and everything like that. There were some feelings, supporters are kind of getting the vibe. And how supporters get too. They want to dig and dig and dig and jump to conclusions, and they get these feelings and everything in their head. They're like, oh, is Trevor really happy? Is he, does he like being in that role? And I kind of see they'd see him at the women's, indoor matches, and they'd and they'd be like, oh, he doesn't look happy. Does he like being here? Is he going to leave? And everything like that. And then, now it's wow, Trevor seems like he's got a little bit of a bounce in his step. And, like Garrett's mentioning the handshake line and everything like that. He does. I mean, he does. I mean, he does seem like it seems like he's, I don't know, you say in a better headspace, happier or whatever like that. But you could only imagine, because Jesus Christ, the job that Trevor had to undertake, since his time here, just I couldn't imagine it. It seemed like a very stressful job, and
yes, I think so. I think he probably does miss I think he does miss coaching, and it's possible that he will at some point say, okay, I've only got so many days on this earth, and what I want to do is coach a team every day and, design training and do all that. I think it's still possible that he'll decide that. But since the beginning of the year, we've had quite a bit of news, and which we've had a ton of new projects come onto the front office, which he is now part of. And there is so much work to be done here, that I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a matter of now, the stadium kind of puts a clock on everything. Like, okay, we're going to build a 14,000 seater. We need to be a team that fills a 14,000 seater. We need to be an organization that can support a team that fills a 14,000 seater. We need to, we need to start creating our own play. Until then, we need to get our youth system actually creating players. We need to get, there's like doubtless a checklist of things the technical staff wants to get done. Things while the front office, because the overwhelming tendency of teams that begin a project like a stadium project, or let's just say a stadium project, is that the technical side of the team goes adrift during that process. That happens all over the globe because there's just not everybody's. You can't do two things. People talk about multitasking. It's a lie. You really can't do two things. It's just not how human consciousness works. Maybe you're good at switching, but you are switching. You're not doing two things at once. Right. I suspect that if he's feeling better, it's probably just because there's so many projects and so much like for a guy like Trevor, it's like kind of like what do you want to put your hands on and develop? Go, like, okay, great, go do it. So that that's my suspicion, is that he's kind of decided that maybe not having to go to training every day at 9 a.m. is not the worst thing in the world. And also he is, incredibly fucking good at being a general manager type guy especially when that's all he's doing. He's not worrying about coaching these guys up, whatever. He's just worrying about finding talent and bringing it in. And you've seen this roster, this is a Trevor roster. Don't get it twisted. I mean, Danny is the input, but Trevor's finding guys, running the scouting regimen. They're discussing their values and the things they want to emphasize, but I think they're largely in agreement about all of it. This is clearly the most talented roster we've ever had. Bringing a guy like Laurent off the bench is just bananas. That's top level USL championship shit that we just haven't even touched. We've watched other teams do that and go, damn, they're bringing that guy in. In the 70th minute, we're like, okay, we can make it, and they bring on Captain Thunderfuck. Oh, what? Come on, man, we're tired. And now we're the team doing that. And it's that kind of depth is takes money, and we don't have a ton of money, so clearly it also takes some kind of wheeler dealing.
Two things, Sean. I wanted to, because you mentioned the money, but I also wanted to, because I know we're talking about Trevor a little bit here, and that's great. And obviously the impact that Trevor's had on this team has been incredible. But when we're talking about Trevor, do you think, and I think Garret, you and I have kind of talked about this in the past, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the emotional attachment that Trevor has to this team. Do you think that there's an emotional attachment that Trevor has to this team that, that this is kind of,
his
it sounds
architect of it?
Yeah, it sounds
Uh,
cheesy and kind of corny, but this is a baby of his. Like, it's beyond just just a job in a sense. It's like it's a pet project of his.
right.
Because he's
Yeah.
been here since they turned pro, and he's overseen that. And I mean, I don't know if he's gonna ever have this type of control over a professional team. Um, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, yes, absolutely. He has an emotional attachment to the team. I mean, the way Trevor and Tiffany run things is very interpersonal. Like
Hmm.
it's an open door with the players. They really focus on like taking care of them as people, and so necessarily that means that they learn a lot about them and get to know their families, and so like match day for them is full of emotional entanglements and like lots of people they like love. um that said, I think that is part of being in football, and Trevor has always been in football. And he would, I think he would, if someone came in with the right opportunity, which I don't know what that would be, honestly. But let's say someone was like, $1 million a year to manage us, and here's for a 3 year, and we're going to sign a 3 year deal right now. So you're going to walk out of this with $3 million, even if we fire you. Um, like, okay, well, all right. He would be able to manage that transition where he's got like none of the affection for the players is diminished, and really not a lot of affection for the club is diminished. It's like you were great to me. Like it's the nomadic nature of football means that you really must develop a no hard feelings kind of philosophy. People or teams that get butthurt about people moving on just get kind of ostracized in the wider community. So you know, uh, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'm just I do think that there is that the right offer could tempt Trevor because I think he misses the coaching. But I would say that the team of him and Danny running this team um, is better than he was alone. And however that is working, I would love to see it continue, because the team looks kind of silky and well managed right now. Like everybody, the players look like they're in good form, like they're happy, like they like each other. Like you're like, oh boy, like this is this is nice. Like and like let's keep it going.
So we got um, Miami on Saturday, 4 p.m. A nice day, as we were mentioning earlier in the show. Probably the best weather we've had in a while. Um, Adam, I know you'll be back. Sean, I think you're making your appearance.
I am.
I'm. I got to see how. Yeah, I might go. I'm tempted. I'm being tempted now. I'm not going. I still disrespect Miami, but there might be some other player factors at play. Um,
You
let's.
want to see the new mics? Do you want to see them?
Yeah.
You're gonna
Are
tease.
they super tiny? Are they like those super tiny mics?
You're gonna. So
See, like here it is right here. It's a handheld, and
So to give you
then
a rundown, we're showing our updated wares for match day,
Yeah.
for the match day content.
Get ready for corner content, motherfuckers. Sorry. I just used an industry term there. I don't know if that's going to land.
We got a clip. We got we got a mic clip. What's that? It's a hold. Is that something you can just hold and fucking? Oh shit. Oh god.
it clips in, so it becomes a handheld. Then you put
Put the windscreen on
uh
it.
yeah. See, look at that. We're gonna
There,
have our mic flag on there too.
Wow.
maybe. Fuck.
Baller.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Is it like the four-sided
Yeah. With
ID
the
thing?
logos on and everything like that. So
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see. Let me see who's all going for the cruise. But all right, we gotta predict scores. Last week Adam was being the cautious one at 1-0, Spence at 2-0. I said it was a coming out party at 3-0. I think the way we played at times could have warranted any of that, but in the end it was a 0-0 draw. I was let down. I was disappointed by that. I feel safe to 3-0 now, even if we're playing on Miami side. So, but I want to see what you two say to kind of help me gauge what I'm thinking. So, Adam, how about you lead off on this one, then Sean, then me?
3-0 Miami. Just kidding. 3-0 Detroit.
I was going to say, like, David scored 3 goals, period. God damn, we're really tempting fate. Who's your goal scorers?
I'm gonna go with Kissiadou, Elvis, and Maxi.
So
No surprises.
Casidu, Amo, Rodriguez. All right. Sean Spence, what about you? Score and scorers.
I think it's 4-1 City. I think we fall behind and then sort of storm past them.
Oh man.
Dance will be I fucking rate.
I just think they're going to come out like super geeked, and it's going to be impossible for our guys to really be like 100% ready to handle them, just because we know they suck. And like I think they're just going to be super geeked and pull something out. And then as for goal scorers, I think Ben Laurent and 2 for Maxi.
Okay. 2-0. I don't trust Miami to be attacking enough to score goals. I think they'll make it interesting for us, especially as Sean, as you were saying, to start the match off. I'm trying to decide if it's going to be Nate or Carlos in goal. The club fooled all of us on their damn graphic on Saturday because I was like, oh, Carlos is in goal. And then I get to the stadium and, oh, no, it's Nate.
Nope, yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. And like he really, I've said here repeatedly that I thought Nate had moved to the number 2, but like I guess he really is rotating them.
Great.
Like just based on like form during the week, I guess, because there's not a lot of pattern otherwise.
Yeah.
You know what too? In that club clean sheet graphic that they released the other day for Nate, they referred to Nate as our number 1.
Right. I mean, I think he's number 1 in the roster. So that would be another way they could kind of be like, well, I mean, we're not saying he's the number 1 keeper. He's our number 1. Like he's wearing the number 1.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, okay, like
he's not GK1. He's literally number 1.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe, yeah, or maybe there's like a tussle within like the front office is like Nate boosters, like whoever they got on social media is like Stein monster for life.
Do they still play ping pong? Maybe it's a ping pong thing that.
Oh, maybe yeah. Maybe just That's
I've
possible.
been clubhouse in a month since Carlos Saldana bought a hat off me. So that was I didn't check and see if they had ping pong because I was busy watching Palace in Frankfurt that day as well. So I said 2-0. Maxi gets his 10th goal of the year. Who gets the second? Reese Williams.
Nice. That's a good shout. I like it.
Saldana in goal. I'm gonna say that just to really fucking confuse everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that Miami comes out and just plays us and tries to like press because that's what I think that's why I say 4-1. Like I think they're going to try to come out and play us, and we are going to ventilate them.
Because they're not used to cold weather. Now they're about to get a fucking wind.
Well, yeah, we're playing so well. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be Michigan perfect. 70 degrees, like
So be ready next week if this doesn't happen, and we'll be like, yeah. So where did it all go wrong?
Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing too, in regards to the Devon contract. I think it's very, very encouraging too, as far as the club in general, that they are handing out these contracts to these guys. They're getting these multi-year commitments wrapped up. Um,
100% agree to that. Yes.
because and especially too when they're in the middle of building this new stadium and everything like that, it's encouraging to see something like it catches eyes too. I have a friend who doesn't pay attention to city. He lives in Fort Wayne. He had to move to Fort Wayne for a job. And you know and I remember him getting in touch with me when Dom signed his multi-year deal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh wow," because he knew I was, really really into Detroit City and shit like that. But he contacted me one day. And he's like, I heard about this multi-year deal. He probably saw me talking about it somewhere. I heard about this, and he's like, "Wow, that's awesome that a lower level team." He may have said minor league team, and I may have shit on him for that, but
As one should do.
Right.
yeah, but but he said, like, that's great that, team is, able to do something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Even now, it's even better considering that, they go and they went and signed Steven to a multi-year deal. And now they signed Devin to a multi-year deal. And you can only assume that, there's gonna be more contracts down the line. But yeah, if you're a City fan, you're a City supporter, seeing something like that happen, then yeah, you've got to be very, very encouraged. Um, just where the club is at, where they're going, and the
Yeah.
confidence they have when it
Yeah.
comes to the finances and everything like that. So
Yeah. I mean, it indicates that there's financial stability that we
yep,
can, confidently make those kind of contractual obligations. And um, it means that like, the knock-on effects of getting these deals done early is that once the season ends and virtually every player in this league becomes a free agent every year. Like it's,
yeah,
really 20-25% are retained and everybody else so
it's like playing
like
fantasy football every year.
right. Like yeah,
Where
you only get a key yeah. Um so that it is a big advantage to be just looking for new layers of talent in that
Mhm.
situation and not having to okay, well, all right, we need at least one left back, maybe two. We need a right back. We need a central midfielder of some description. Maybe, hopefully he can defend some. We need wingers. We need striker. We basically need every fucking position on the planet except center backs and maybe even one of those. Um, it just helps to simplify that list a little bit and
Yeah,
have some
absolutely.
continuity so that you can you've just got fewer decisions to make in the amount of time you've got before all the talent that can make a difference is snapped up and you're left trolling, lower leagues in Europe and, the Canadian League and watching a lot of NCAA film from Division Two, trying to find diamonds in the rough that nobody's noticed. It's a lot of work. Everybody loves that idea. But the reality of it is thousands of hours of watching, you know, developmental football um, to
Yeah.
find one, right?
Mm.
So like it's not a realistic like approach to building a roster. You're going to build a roster mostly out of people who played in the league that you're in. Um,
Yeah.
or one above or one below. You're going to get guys off the bottom of MLS or the best players out of League One and guys who are already in the championship. That's
Mhm.
your basic pool of players. Um, and yeah, so that's intensely competitive within that pool during that period. And we've spent a lot of time just trying to re-sign our guys once the season ends. So I think it'll be a big advantage to not have to do so much of that and have
100%.
lots of contractual I have a feeling that we have kind of like a handshake agreement with Laurent if it goes well, where it's not going to be a ton of decisions and jousting about money and everything. He's a known quantity, and if he became available, I'm sure we were moving to secure him in a real way.
So it's gonna be a relatively boring off season. We're not gonna have, fans are gonna be or supporters are gonna be bitching about when they're gonna start making player announcements.
Yeah, well, I mean, right. The timing of the off season is such that really unless the PR team has a planned sort of calendar of retrospective for the season, you've got just huge gaps of no news. And it people start speculating,
Yeah.
it's a low cost low cost entertainment. So yeah. But I don't know, my interactions with some of the supporter people who are very vocal about where's that kind of who kind of bring that AM sports talk vibe to the conversation. If Trevor James would pull his thumb out of his ass and sign some motherfucking striker, we'd be fucking winning this bitch. Okay, generally it's okay, you suck, man. I'll just wait for you. I'm just waiting for those people to get bored and go back to, watching some MLS or whatever. And to the extent that hasn't happened, it's kind of amazing to me. Okay, but this is what it is, guys. We are constrained by budget in ways that we do not wish to talk about, because it is not a competitive advantage to constantly paint ourselves as poverty-stricken, babies in the market. We're trying to compete for players. We have to present ourselves with some swagger. So when we don't talk about money at all, that tells you a lot, right?
Close to your chest.
Right. There is no competitive advantage to boasting to your supporters. That's just good management. I'm sorry,
I need to hear Sean call up in Troll 97.1 and just do what he just did. Where's the Trevor Cole, sign a motherfucking striker? But he wouldn't be able to get on initially talking about City.
Right, I got a Lions take that they won't believe.
Yeah. You had to have a Lions take. You had to talk about Aiden Hutchinson injury first to get on. You'd be like, oh, and my second point, if Trevor would sign a motherfucking striker, we'd be in first place in the East.
Yeah,
that's exactly. They're fighting for a home playoff match. And at that point, they dump you. But
sitting there watching Lou City sign Philip Goodrum, we don't even know this dude exists. He's sitting in Tulsa, just someone come save me. I'm on the worst team in the fucking world, and he signs for the best team in the league. What the fuck, man? We didn't know Philip Goodrum was available. I don't know.
Yeah, his buyout clause.
Right. I mean, I'm
need to do that.
But you have to I'm presenting myself as a low information, rabid supporter, who's that whole vibe I feel is played out. Listen, Boomer, the idea that a club owes you an explanation as to their grand strategy every couple of weeks, what the fuck, man? do you demand this from other companies that you interact with? Like, we are in a competitive, like a very directly competitive business. It's not like the kind of competition that you have in like regular ass business where it's like kind of maybe you're sort of competing for customers, but maybe not. It's hard to tell. No. We're competing on the field to win matches. Like it's very direct. So
In
telling you anything is a losing proposition.
in lower league soccer in the United States, and you guys talked about it earlier with the new stadium. Like I've been paying attention to and I know we're gonna wrap this up in a couple shortly, just because for time constraints. But we talked about the fact of there are new stadiums in the USL Championship and League One, but even Lou City, for as big of a stadium, what's a constant theme that we're seeing when people are looking at attendance numbers and everything? Lexington with their new stadium, then they don't even seat half the
Empty. Yeah.
empty. So your Detroit City FC, you're currently almost selling out of 7,000. Maybe
Yeah,
you've hit 7,000.
you're averaging around 6 in a 7,000 seat stadium,
Well,
right?
you're up from last year, but you're now going to want to expand your stadium to double your size.
Right.
And you probably will want to also build up your women's side as well, which I still believe that the women's side will be the talked about side in a few years if things align the way that could align with that. That's a diamond in the rough. Don't thank me later.
Yeah, I mean, obviously our tie to USL means that as long as the Super League exists, that's what we're going to go into if the women go pro.
Yeah.
But I have my doubts about the Super League existing at this point. And I do think that NWSL is a possibility for us. Once we have that stadium, it's like, so I don't know.
That is a good conversation we'll probably all need to have one day. But I think about all this, and yeah, you guys are right. You need to make the investment in showing that, hey, if you are a player, if you are a coach, scout, anything like that, this is a place for you to come for many reasons. In addition to the fact you have some absolute sicko, borderline insane, borderline way too fucking passionate group of people, but they got your back because you wear that shirt, because you wear that polo, you wear that track jacket, you are a representative of this club. Because of that, and if you're not an asshole, they got your fucking back. Tell like you're one of theirs, like you're like Adam and Spence for me, right?
Yeah.
And that goes a long fucking way.
Well, if I had a camera, I'd make heart hands at it. That's nice.
We did see the suggestions about puppets. Not saying yes. I
think if anybody's got a spare webcam, they want to mail me. I'll clip it on my monitor. It'll probably vibrate the whole time we're talking, but whatever.
I think you guys had your good bits. I want to actually bring in a good bit because this reminds me. I was shocked, and you guys got a text from me during the game on Saturday. So I'm carousing through, getting to the media area, chatting with my family friends at Ridgeways, and they had some folks in at the VIP, and I get bumped into there's a husband, wife, and teenage son from Virginia. I think their first city game or one of their first ones in there. They're like, "Are you Garret?" And they mentioned they asked if Spence was there. And the kid introduces his son to you. This is one of our favorite podcasters. So for the fact that we have people not in the state of Michigan listening to us, I mean, wow. But that's awesome. Thank you very much. Kind of humbling, I'm not going to lie. And yeah, we thought we were sickos. There's some devotion. There's something about, but the point is though, there's something about this that gravitates to people.
I appreciate that. I also, just to share my struggle as I tend to do, I'm one of those people who immediately, like I have to struggle against saying negative things to myself in my head when I receive praise. So like
Yeah.
I often become like very still and stiff because I'm like, fighting an internal battle, like to not to not act in reverse of what people expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that my nervous system has good words, so yay for that.
Apologize because unfortunately, like, I don't have the name off the top of my head. Pleasure chatting with everyone on Saturday that made it to the match on there. It's cool. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all that have checked out our
Yeah.
content, especially our late run of weekly shindigs, which will continue next week. Date to be announced, or when we decide to fucking do it. So we got
to be announced soon, I think. Probably.
maybe. Maybe. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. I'm sorry. You guys have any fun to add before I do the closing bit thingy?
No.
What about you?
Yeah. Anybody listening, bring your candy. Bring a bag of candy
Oh,
to
that's
the
Yep.
to the NGS merch tent Saturday to help support Hamtramck Trunk or Treat. That'll be taking place, I believe, on October 30th.
Yep.
So if you want to help out with that, it's a great event that takes place, in Hamtramck every single year to kind of, give the neighborhood kids a safe place to go and get in trick or treat. So again, bag of candy, bring it into Keyworth. You'll be fine getting through safe with it. And just head on over to the NGS merch tent, which is situated right behind the supporter stand, the smoking section stand inside Keyworth, and just hand it off to them there. And also there's going to be a spooky homecoming party at the Painted Lady after the match Saturday. So dress up. You dress some formal. You can dress in regular clothes, wear a costume, come hang out with the Painted Lady afterwards. And,
Yeah. The match ends at 6, so you've got all night to really embarrass
exactly,
yourself. Yeah. That'll be
exactly.
fantastic.
And then we'll be naming the third, I believe it's the third LaRouge Legacy winner as well. Will Mikey Bryant take home a third consecutive award? We'll make that announcement tomorrow. I believe
And for those
voting ends at noon tomorrow. So
for those that aren't aware of what the Le Rouge Legacy Award is and how it differs from the Black Arrow,
it recognizes a player that kind of goes that extra mile and having a connection with city and
It's like
support in the city and supporters. So
community service award, sort of.
exactly, yeah.
so there are plenty of reasons to check out. It'll be great weather, great opportunity. While it's the home regular season finale, don't expect it to be the last Keyworth season finale. I think you should be ready for the first weekend in November. Bundle up, motherfuckers.
Yeah, my birthday is on the 21st. I would love to see us playing around my birthday. That would be incredible. It would mean we're like, I think in the Eastern Conference Finals, or maybe in the USL Championship Finals.
Picture a snowy Keyworth Stadium. Snow globe. But yeah, there's plenty of great reasons for there. Definitely the end, the trick or treat drive, any of these wonderful endeavors to go out and take in what has been. It's been a great season, and it's going to continue on. And ways to check out any of our past work for those that feel like you haven't had enough of us. Head over to Detroit.themajorsports.com for all prior Major Detroit, Make City, Make Spence episodes, including our other Sicko Fam, the Channel 451 podcast. We'll be back.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. Listen to it.
Yep. We'll be back at some point next week, I believe, with a new Tunnel Talk on there, and also the post-match recap stuff, which we'll be doing with whoever's going to be at Keyworth this Saturday at taking on Miami. You can find Sean on Twitter at skilledschafing. Email skilledschafing@gmail.com. And the Words About Sheep's Patreon, which I shit you not, and I'm not over exaggerating. The written soccer supporter content you can find in the US. And people wonder, what can you do with are you getting good investment? It's for $3, although I feel like you should add 69 cents for these video. So Adam, you can find him TMSNX Adam, Majors Detroit, TMSNX Detroit on Twitter, 451D, Channel 451 Sickos. Myself, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, and the Discord at GM Comats. And we thank everybody for checking out another episode of Make City Make Spence. And we'll be back next week. We'll talk about Miami. Hopefully it's not a goddamn therapy session, or it's a good therapy session. We're happy we get to let out joys. Either way, Miami, bundle up. You're about to get whooped. Come and fucking get it. To everyone else.
Awesome.